5 designs, 5 people, 5 chances. But these 3 will fail. You need to be like these 2 to even stand a chance and be able to compete. And there is also a 6th one, but more on that later. Let's go through why these 3 failed and how to avoid their horrible fate. And of course, the best way to start avoiding that horrible fate is to like this video, comment under it, and subscribe to the channel. Let's start at level 1. Welcome to level 1. Obviously, a lot of the things here are pretty clear, but let's quickly go through them one by one. First thing is that there is way too many typefaces and font styles. I counted 7 different typefaces, and that's way too many for our brain to handle. There are 4 distinct background colors, and they're all pretty colorful here. I'm not counting the card backgrounds because those are visuals and they can be independent. And next to that, there is over 5 or 6 different foreground colors. Then we have the icons, and they're all over the place. We have colorful, we have outlined, we have filled, and we have thicker and thinner strokes, all in one app. The spacing here obviously is completely wrong. Everything is misaligned in some way or another, and it's clearly visible with both the vertical and the horizontal spacing. This is pure chaos. There are no rules here and no hierarchy. Looking at your job well done, on this level you might be thinking to yourself, wow, I am great. But it's really not that great yet. The best thing about it is that there is plenty of potential and room to grow from here. This design is visibly better. One of the things that makes it better is that there are only 4 different typefaces. It's still too many, but way better than 7. It's also a lot cleaner when it comes to colors. There is mostly a white background here, and the tab bar at the bottom has a red one. The foreground colors are 2 different shades of dark gray and an unexpected blue that doesn't really match an overly red app. When it comes to icons, we finally have consistency in their overall style. They're all outlines, but they are different sizes and different thickness, which still makes it a pretty bad design. The spacing, both vertical and horizontal, is still extremely chaotic and not any better than the one on level 1. Now this is slightly better, but still not great. You can do better than this. Level 3. This is where most beginners are at. This design deserves some praise because it actually takes a user need into account and adds those send and receive buttons on the main screen. Because these are one of the actions here that the users might actually want to take from the dashboard, and all of the other ones just focused on big credit cards. There is also just one typeface used across the entire design, and that is great news. This is how most junior designers should work. And also it shows that somebody has read my book about the guide to UI design. Colors are much simpler with 2 shades of gray and a dark red for the backgrounds, but the problem is that the darker color is on top of the lighter one. It should be the opposite. Then with the foreground colors we have 2 shades of gray, and that is just fine, but then both red and blue, that's way too much. Icons are even more consistent here than in level 2. The only difference is that some of them are still too thick or too thin, mostly in the newly added buttons. The vertical spacing is not too bad. It's not perfectly aligned but way better, but the horizontal one still has somewhat to be desired. While it's definitely less chaotic than levels 2 and 1, it's still pretty chaotic and actually takes our brain a little bit longer to parse everything and understand what we're looking at here. This is really not enough to either find a job or to get good clients. And since most people are on this level, you need a mindset shift to understand that you don't want to be like most people. You want to aim higher. And this is how you do it. Level 4 is a lot cleaner and clearer, less colors, less fonts, less of everything, but it does keep that separated part with send and receive buttons, which is an important functionality for everybody. There is just one typeface and 3 styles. The backgrounds are light with a natural progression of just 3 colors, and then in the foreground we have a darker and lighter text and a blue for notifications. Icons are all consistent outlines with the selected icon being filled. That's a common practice. The structure and hierarchy actually makes a lot of sense. There is a lot less chaos, but there are still some little bugs like the cards not being fully centered in the screen. Level 4. Absolutely no surprises. This is a solid, correct UI design. Of course, it could have been better and the glass morphism looks a little bit out of place, but it was probably used because it looks cool. But if you're on this level, you're starting to actually have a pretty good chance of winning. Level 5. Now that's more like it. On level 5, let's focus on some little details first that you might have missed. First thing is that notice the difference from the elements to the cards. They're all equal. And that is on purpose because when you add hierarchy strips, you'll realize that it clearly divides our groups into very clear and easy to understand sections. The icon at the top has a thin outline that makes it a button, which psychologically makes it feel easier to click. And for the bottom tabs, we're not using color or a filled icon alone to signify that it's selected. We also added a little indicator at the bottom, which makes this design a lot more accessible. And obviously we still have just one typeface, 3 styles, and the icons are also consistent, so we can skip that part. In terms of spacing, let's look at the hierarchy again, because obviously all the internal spacings are also functional, practical, and based on the grid, both vertically and horizontally. There is absolutely no room for chaos here. And because it flows so seamlessly and there is also enough white space for every section to be clearly readable, this design just feels better than the other one. And we achieved this by doing the cards as a scrolling horizontally carousel instead of a stack, because the stack takes up even more vertical space, leaving less space for all the other elements. And the last part is important for financial apps. We're not wasting horizontal space either, so the transactions don't have their own little box and instead just exist on the background. That gives us still enough white space on the left side, but no need for that extra line, and we can fit a lot more information in. With designs on this level, especially knowing how to also do web design, not just apps, you could successfully freelance with pretty good clients and then start your own agency, or get hired in some of those agencies yourself. So this is a really well done UI, but f it. We're gonna go to level 6 now. This is where it starts to get interesting because level 6 uses mostly all the same elements as level 5, so what makes it so much better than that? What makes it better is the ability to ask questions. Questions like who uses this app and what is the most important information and functionalities for those people. And based on that, we rearrange that screen because I really need to tell you this. Nobody, I mean like absolutely nobody, needs a big credit card image that takes 1/3 of the screen on their dashboard. They usually know how their credit card looks like, and this is just wasted space and wasted functionality, especially since you might have the credit card visuals in a dedicated card section in a finance app like this, so not on the dashboard. The idea is to take your level 5 design and then start thinking about how it could be better for a specific use case and for specific users. Because you are designing for people to use it, even if it's a fake portfolio product app. And there is also one more reason to annotate these decisions. That's because most people don't really dig deep into what you do. They look at some pretty pictures and think, yeah, this is nice or this is bad. But if you annotate and if you explain that you removed the credit card because it's wasted space and instead went with account information, which is useful space, then people start to notice that, hey, that guy is actually onto something. And if you won't tell them, they won't have the mental capacity to figure it out on their own. They're just gonna look superficially at the UI itself, and yes, it can be good. It can be good enough to get you the job on its own. But if you add that little extra step, then you're suddenly way more interesting in their eyes, because they're gonna say, yeah, this is somebody who knows what he's doing, because this is design, not just pushing pixels. And if you use this mindset and explain your design decisions, you're gonna move way more than pixels. I talk about these things in my videos and in my courses, so if you've been following them for a while, you probably know a little bit of this already. Let me know if you do, and obviously, have a beautiful day.